Hello everyone, today we will be talking about an introduction to different types of germs, and this is helpful whether you're starting any biology or medical classes. These are just good key concepts that you should know. So first up, bacteria. So some examples that you might know are tuberculosis and strep throat. Bacteria can produce disease by either destroying the tissues of the cell for food or producing toxins that infiltrate the bloodstream. They have three distinct shapes. They can either be spherical, rod-shaped, or spiral. And they are single-celled organisms, otherwise known as prokaryotes. And they contain DNA and ribosomes, so they have the proteins they need to function. Next up are viruses. Viruses may only replicate inside of a host, so inside of other organisms. They contain a caspid, which is an outer coat, as well as either DNA or RNA. And some viruses are lucky enough to have a spare membrane too. So how viruses attack onto a host cell is first they attach by binding to a receptor protein. Next, depending on whether or not they have DNA or RNA, they inject this into the host cell. And as this process continues, the organism becomes more and more infected with the virus. And a virus must enter the body through direct contact, whether this is an organism eating something, touching it through their eyes, their nose. It just must enter through direct contact. So next up are prions. They are proteins that infect the brain, and then they cause the proteins in the brain to change. They are known to create hard spots in the brain or even make holes, since the prions induce folding inside of the brain. So as you can imagine, this would not be good for humans, since we all need our brains to function. Same with any other organisms. And they are known to most commonly to be spread through infected meat products. Next up are viroids. These are pretty easy to understand. Essentially, they're naked RNA, and they do not contain the caspid, that outer wall that we were talking about earlier. They are also the smallest infective pathogen known currently, and they are commonly found to affect the plants, according to biologists. Next up are fungi. They are multi-celled plant organisms, and since they're unable to make their own food, they must feed off the nutrition from others. And they thrive in damp areas, and an example that you might know of is athlete's foot. Next up are protozoas. These are one-celled organisms, and they thrive in moist areas and spread through water. And they can either be free-living or parasitic, and they often feed on microorganisms or organic tissues to survive. Now you know more about germs. Congrats!